Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So some of you may already know me and some of you may not. My name's Vicky and I'm 30 years old and I suffer from a invisible illness and disability that you wouldn't otherwise know I had if you were just looking at me in the street. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it to raise some awareness about the condition so that people understand it more, to get rid of the stigma that comes around the condition, the embarrassment, to maybe offer support to other people that are suffering it like me, but the families as well, because I feel like they probably don't know how to support or what to say or what's what. And yeah, so what is my illness? I am asthmatic, but I have a specific type of asthma that is uncommon in the UK. I think, and I'm just going to check the statistics on this, but I think 200,000 people in the UK have it, and that's less than 10% of the population. Yeah, so Asthma UK say my type of asthma affects only 5% of the population, which isn't great, and 5% of the population is 200,000 people. And so what is this type of asthma? I have asthma that is severe, and it's categorized as severe refractory eosinophilic asthma. Severe means it's really bad. I have the worst type of asthma that there is, the severest form. Eosinophilic means I have too many white blood cells. Eosinophils are white blood cells. They help fight inflammation. They help fight disease, and by doing that, obviously inflammation occurs, but I have too many of them, which also causes inflammation, which causes me to have breathing problems. I have refractory asthma, and this means that I don't respond to treatment. So I have asthma that is difficult to treat, which is why it's so scary. And then asthma is asthma. If you're watching this video, you probably know what asthma is, and if you don't, it's just inflammation of the airways, to put it simply. So I also have GERD, which is gastroesophageal reflux disease, and I get a lot of heartburn. I've got a little valve down in my gut that is supposed to close to keep stomach acid in. Mine doesn't close properly, it's more sort of like this, so stomach acid is coming out of this valve and causing me issues, and heartburn then exacerbates my asthma. I do need an operation for this, but because of my asthma, I'm a surgical risk, so I can't have one. The other thing is I also have severe rhinitis and sinusitis. They're two different things, and I get a nasal drip. So when my nasal drip drips, I feel like I've got a body of jelly in my throat and I'm breathing through a volume of jelly. It's similar to when you've breathed in water in the swimming pool. That's how I feel when I'm breathing in generally when my nasal drip's bad, so it's not ideal. I need a drink. So what sort of things let me talk to you about diagnosis process. I could go into further information later if you wanted a video on that, and if you do, please comment in the comments below. Basically, I was diagnosed as an asthmatic in 1995 when I was 5 to 6 years old. When I got to the age of 11, I was finding it very difficult to manage my breathing. I was constantly using, if I was at school, I would be in the medical room on my inhaler most of the time, and this got progressively worse throughout year 7, year 8, year 9, year 10, all the way up to 16. Then I started working at a nightclub in my local town, and I became a supervisor, and it was the year that JLS won the X Factor. And I remember it because of JLS winning the X Factor. It had become quite bad that year. The first thing I had noticed was that I was walking around work and I was constantly needing to use my inhaler. I felt very short of breath quite a lot, but I was determined to still work, so I was just taking my inhaler, having 5 minutes, and then get back to work. This was the first idea that I had that anything was wrong. I'm not going to edit this video because I want to be as raw as possible. I might need just a second. So yeah, that was the first thing that I knew was wrong with me. Moving onwards, I remember going to my brother's flat this time with my mum. He had made a pasta bake, and just before that it had snowed, and the snow had just defrosted, but it was still cold. And we went and had the pasta bake. On the way home I couldn't breathe, and we ended up having to get an ambulance out to our house. And I was nebulised and then told to see my GP. It's probably just because it was cold outside and my lungs had not responded well to the cold, blah blah blah. So I went to see the GP and they gave me some steroids for a week, and that was that. But I spent 6 years, well, best part of half a decade, if not longer, fighting with GPs up until about 2014, I think, 2013-14, trying to get someone to help me. And they kept telling me that I was having panic attacks and anxiety, and it wasn't asthma, but my oxygen saturations would be, you know, 92s, 91s, 89s. It wasn't great, and that isn't something that typically happens with panic attacks. So I knew something was very wrong. In the space of 1 year, I visited the GP 40 times, and I was in A&E 47 times. So that just shows how impacting this is. There's 52 weeks in a year. So, you know, nearly every week I was either in A&E or I was in the doctor's surgery, and between those times I'd have ambulances that would come out where I would say I don't want to go to hospital. I went to hospital yesterday, they sent me home, told me to speak to my GP. I spoke to my GP's not doing anything, and I can't go there because at the time I didn't have a lot of money because I just lost my job. Because of asthma, I lost a job, 3 days off sick in a year, and off you pop. Not ideal. And so I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have any way to get home. It's 7 miles away from my house. When they kick me out at 10 o'clock at night and it's freezing cold and it's dark, I'm only going to end up back here again because I can't breathe because you've made me walk 7 miles home and there's no buses. So that was the situation I was in. I'll see doctors, keep bashing my head against the wall. Then my current GP joined the practice as a partner, and things changed. He listened to me. He started me on different medications, so new inhalers, another new inhaler, you know, Montelukast, aminophylline, all of that good stuff. Still nothing worked because I've gone from having a small problem when I was working in the bar to a gigantic problem. And now I was the size of Mount Everest compared to a molehill. And so it wasn't great. When I did see him, he kept saying, I will refer you to see a specialist if this doesn't work, if that doesn't work. And he never did. And then in June or July, I can't quite remember what month it was, of 2015, I was admitted to hospital, one of many, many hundreds of admissions probably. And the consultant came to see me in the morning on the acute medical ward, and he basically said that I had pleurisy. I had collapsed the day before in Asda with severe chest pain. He said I had pleurisy and a really bad chest infection, and I was clearly very asthmatic. He said, I see you've been here into A&E quite a lot on your records for your asthma. Why have you never been referred to see a specialist? I just explained to him what I've just explained before. My GP kept saying he would, and he never did. And then for 6 years beforehand, I was fighting against me being anxious when I'm not. So he said he'll take me on himself. So he took me on himself, and that was in 2015. It's now been exactly 4 years, and I'm worse now than I was then. But since then, I've had more medications come in. So I'm now on azithromycin, which is an antibiotic, which was used in the AMAZES trial and reduces inflammation in the lungs, as well as preventing infections. And thankfully, I've not had a chest infection for a few months, so that's good. I also have a home nebuliser. I have a home one and I have a portable one, which I'll link in the description below. And I use the intersurgical cirrus 2 oxygen masks with mine, which I'll also link in case you're asthmatic and wondering. So, whilst I've been under the consultant, I've tried 2 biologics, or monoclonal antibodies as they're formerly known. I've had mepolizumab, which really helped with my sense of taste. I never realised tomato sauce was tomatoey. Like, before it was just flavourless, and I never realised how creamy a banana tastes because I didn't have a sense of taste or smell. So I brought back my sense of taste, but it didn't help my asthma, so it was stopped. And then in 2018, at the start of 2018, I started resilizumab, which is an infusion. And I had that for a fair amount of time, and that didn't help either. It helped my rhinitis. I could now breathe through my nose, but I couldn't still breathe lung-wise. So mepolizumab made me feel like I'd been hit by a truck, but I got my sense of taste back. Resilizumab turned my face really red, like I was red raw and blotchy. I felt knackered. I had chest pain with it, but it fits my rhinitis, so take what you will from that. I heard back from my consultant this week, and he said that we're going to be trying benralizumab now, so I'm just waiting for a date to start that. I'm trying to get this video done as quickly as I can before I start suffocating again, but it's not going well, is it? So yeah, they're the treatments that I've had. So yeah, I've also suffered some abuse in public before. So I was called a lazy effing see you next Tuesday for using a lift for 2 floors because of my breathing. When I said to this lady about my breathing, she told me to walk up the stairs and die quietly. And that is a quote. I have been abused at the petrol station, being told if I can't fill up my tyres properly to get out of the way, you effing retard. I will never use the retard word. I've never ever used it. It's the most despicable word. I could not believe it. I find things very difficult, and I'll explain some of the activities that I find difficult in a moment. When I've walked around the shops to get some food, because obviously I need food and I can't get everything delivered because I don't order £40 worth of food every 2 days, you know, so delivery is a bit difficult. So I do still have to go get stuff. If I do go to the shop, I get abused in the shop. People barge past me or push me out of the way and all that stuff, so it's not great. And then blue badges. I have blue badge from the council that I applied to council for, and I get abused in the car parks because I look young and I look normal. I have had a lady stop me in town and ask me why I'm parked in a disabled bay. I tell her because I have a blue badge. Yeah, but whose blue badge is it? Well, it's my blue badge. Why'd you ask? I show her the picture, and then she tries to backtrack. Oh, it's just people have been photocopying blue badges and borrowing people's blue badges and all of this stuff. And I'm like, no, it's not that, is it? You saw a young person and just thought you'd have a go at me, but this is my blue badge. I've got a severe lung problem. Please go away. And that's just the first time. I've had people give me disgusting looks just driving past me in when I've parked up, and for all they know, all they can see is this part of my body. For all they know, I could have no legs. I could have no legs, but they just see this part of my body in the car and assume that I'm young, fit and healthy and parking there because I'm an asshole. And that is not the case. So it drives me mad, and it's one of the things that make me feel like I can't go out and do things. I walk with my phone in the shop because if I can't breathe I use my phone. It prevents people calling me an ambulance. It's good to call people ambulances, but when you're in an ambulance 3 times in a day, it's not ideal. So I try to help myself. If I can't help myself, then I'll ask someone for help, or I'll just fall on the floor and wait till someone comes and helps me, depending on whether I can ask for help or not, because sometimes you can't speak. Moving forward again, some of the activities that I found quite difficult, or that I do find quite difficult, is brushing my hair. I do have very long hair, but even if it was short hair, actually it's easier with it being long hair, because this bit is not the problem. I could get this bit done. It's from here downwards that is the problem, because my arm's like this, and that makes my rib cage contract, and then that makes gives my lungs less room to move, and my diaphragm doesn't move properly and I can't breathe. The same thing happens when I hoover and when I change the bed covers. So I often hoover on a wheelie desk chair, but I do also have cleaners that come in once a week to do a big clean, because I just can't do it. Doing the housework that my sister or even my best friend could do in 2 hours will take me the whole day, because I can't breathe. I keep having to stop to sort my breathing out. But you wouldn't know this just by looking at me in a car. Going to the petrol station, this is one of the hardest tasks I have. Go to the petrol station, bending down and taking the dust caps off my air valves. Oh, I have to have a break after every single one. I cannot breathe, and then bending down and putting the pump on the thing and holding it until it gets to 30-35 psi. It's just awful. I can't cope with that. And then I have to have a break, and then I get abused for taking the piss and being a retard, as that man called me once at the petrol station. It's just not very nice. So there's that. And there's loads of other things. So sometimes I struggle to chew, because when you can't breathe and you can't breathe through your nose, then you can't chew. And when you are chewing, you often choke, and so it's not nice. And those are just a few things. So it impacts me. My bed is 18 steps from the toilet, and I struggle to make it there without stopping, with being unable to breathe. In fact, walking from my bed to the toilet has landed me in an ambulance, for a bit of context of how debilitating it is. And that's just a little insight into my life, and I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, please do ask. If you'd like me to do a more in-depth video, or you've got anything that you'd like to ask me about or ask me to go into more detail about, I'm happy to do that as well. So leave them down below, and yeah, I'll see you in another video. My next one's going to be a Q&A, so if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer in the Q&A, I will be happy to do that as well. Thank you very much for watching. Do take care, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye. I'm just filming this little bit on my phone. I just wanted to say that there is a longer version of this video also on my channel, but it goes a bit blurry in the middle and then sorts itself out and goes a bit blurry again, because I had a problem with the lens, so I did re-record it. So if you want the longer version, then I'll link that down below, and you can go and watch that one. But this one will be the shorter, to the point video that's not 47 minutes long, about 42 minutes I think it is, 43, somewhere around that mark. So yeah, thank you for watching.